And a very good evening, everybody. Welcome into your box seat, brought to you in association with Sweet Lou, standing at Woodland Stud. Looking forward to tonight's shows. Of course, my regular cohorts and Craig the Whale Thompson. Craig, not only do we get to Alexandra Park for one of their features this side of Christmas, but also we'll be at the Green Mile, and so will you.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to the weekend. It's a couple more guides towards the New Zealand Cup, isn't it? Obviously more significantly at Methven than at Alexandra Park, but good to see the Methven field hold up so well, Greg. Smolder's in there. Of course, he was placed in the race a couple of years ago. And Huey Green backs up this Friday night in the Holmes DG after winning the Spring Cup. So a lot to talk about in the next 60 minutes.
Not the Green Mile, of course, it's the Methven Cup. The Green Mile's held in December. Michael, evening to you. Significantly out of the Canterbury Classic, not only do we find the absolute favourite now for the Cup, but a horse has been removed that may have had a big part to play. Evening.
Yeah, evening, fellas. A big hi to everybody at home. I'm sure you enjoyed Addington last Friday night. A few questions answered, a few questions posed around the standing start manners of Have Faith in Me. I think the most important piece of news out of the Canterbury Classic, the horse who finished last. We'll talk about that very shortly.
All right, let's get straight into it. The Christian Cullen Canterbury Classic, 8 of the last 10 winners of the Cup have come through this race. And here is Lazarus doing what he does best. That's winning, and winning very comfortably. Let's get Mark Mack to bring him home.
Connor and Franco Nelson. Lazarus is in front, a length on Chris and Me. He won't get him, and Lazarus is going to win it. Lazarus wins the Classic by a length and is beaten home. Chris and Me, Smolder and Have Faith in Me.
Mark, you expected improvement in all facets of his game, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was, Greg. Through all the way he stepped and felt like he could have begun quicker if I'd asked him tonight, but I was just careful with him, but was safe, and that was the main thing. But he was great afterwards.
Yeah, look, you drove him aggressively. Once he found the top, he seemed to relax beautifully, and he controlled the race from there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew there'd be moves made from behind tonight, and I felt Christian Me did that middle stage move, and he might give the lead up, which he did, and it proved out a sort of a winning move.
Are all three on the pathway to Ashburton? Is that your mindset at this stage?
Yes, they'll be Ashburton. Smolder probably take on Methven in between, but the other two will be Ashburton.
So New Zealand record there, Craig Thompson, only by 0.1 of a second, but yeah, he's just a magnificent individual, isn't he, Lazarus?
Well, he's got the all-round game. He's obviously improved a lot since the New Brighton Cup, Greg. Not just physically, but also obviously time-wise as well. I mean, that race there was running New Zealand record time. I think in the New Brighton Cup he ran his last mile and a half in 2:54. I can tell he ran his last mile and a half in that race in 2:52.8. So not only has he got physically better, but he's got faster as well, and that's a scary thing going into the Cup in 27 days' time.
And of course, Michael, the other most important thing, his learnings from that first upstanding start on race night to the second were quite noticeable.
Yeah, great work by the Canterbury crew, the trackside crew there. You could see him stepping away beautifully clean, heading forward, no bobble. And that takes a big bit of doubt out of the New Zealand Cup equation. At this stage, things can change, of course, but he looks, the more you see him as a 4-year-old, like a horse who could have been his former stablemate of 20 years ago in Albacolo. There's lots of Albacolo about him, Craig. Strong on the shoulder, very clean-winded, clearly, to pace those sort of times this time of the year. He's probably in a stronger era than Albacolo is, but yeah, at the moment he deserves to be the favourite for the Cup. And if he goes to Ashburton and wins well, you're going to see him shorten even more. As my views are well known on how short he is, I still think he's way too short, considering all the things that can happen between now and then. But there's also a couple of other things about that race, and the most important one, I think, for most other people is the doubt that Have Faith in Me's stand brought to his chances in the Cup.
Yeah, well, he was worse, no doubt about that at all, Craig. And I suppose the other thing to factor in about Lazarus, if you're looking for him to have any bad luck, if we only have 11, 12, maybe even 13 and Have Faith in Me's on the unruly, he's got a 85, 90% chance of drawing the front row. Well, also, I mean, his 2 standing starts so far to date have been very average, especially here. He's given Lazarus 10 lengths early head start. Can't afford to do that in New Zealand Cup, even if you've only got a smaller field. Have Faith in Me, I mean, it will head to Ashburton. I said this race was defining, not just for Have Faith in Me, but for Lazarus as well, because he was unknown in the standing start. What I liked about him, he just pinged away, Greg. He was in the settle in the top 5 inside the first 400 metres of the race. And I thought Mark Purdon would look to go forward this week because he really gave him an easy run first up, and he wanted to see whether that improvement was there. We saw what happened on Friday.
Yep, clearly. He clearly outpointed them. There's no doubts about that. The one thing I would say is Have Faith in Me probably has more chance of stepping away in a New Zealand Cup, which is down the back straight, than I think at 2,600 metres. That 2,600 metre standing start point, it's a tricky place for horses drawn wide.
Can I ask you what you actually thought of his run after he didn't step away, though, boys? Because what got me is he caught the field relatively easy. He got round mid-stages, and Lockerbie gave him coverage from probably about the 1,200 to the 400. Smolder was 3 wide from that point, and yet Smolder beat him home.
All right, before we have that thought around that, let's hear from the beaten brigade and hear what Natalie Rasmussen thought.
Another very brave run.
Yeah, he's doing things right, Greg. He's getting himself in a good position, and yeah, if he does that Tuesday, he'll be in the mix. But yeah, the winner was very good, and I'm sure there's some good runs around him. But yeah, we couldn't be more happy with the old fella, and he's probably his last run before Tuesday.
Tim, talk us through the run you got.
Yeah, look, we probably settled in, probably not too bad a position, and a few runs come, and we sort of got shuffled back, and we got a bit of a card up and got left out 3 wide down the back, but it probably suited us. We just sat out there nice and quiet, and I was very pleased the way he relaxed and the way he handled himself around the last bend, and I was pretty pleased the way he found the line.
Well, his Achilles heel continues to be exactly that, Natalie.
Oh, that's right. Look, hey, whether he gets it or he doesn't, he just gets himself that uptight at the start and he bounds away. But if he does hit it on the right foot, he can do it. So, just maybe on the day he might hit the right foot. But look, he's not losing a heap of ground, which is great, but he's still got to get away better than that.
What did you make of his run after that? He looked flat round the last bend, but he kept on fighting.
Yeah, he tried hard. I thought his run was okay. Probably that mid-race work. I just felt like he needed the run again. The run will do him good. After doing that, little bit of a miss away, catching up, then mid-race work, and then getting home, he was okay. But I felt he needs another run.
John, whilst he didn't get the perfect run as he had in his last 2 starts, you still seem pretty pleased.
Yeah, I do. Like you say, I sort of missed the start fraction. It cost him dearly, but I was still wrapped the way he sort of found the line, because he's out wide, sort of dueling with Have Faith in Me, and still found it. So that was good.
Right, so we know he's not going to Ashburton. What is the countdown like for you now?
No, I'm still working it out. Each day changed my mind, so we'll still go home now and plan it out from there.
All right, let's go through them in racebook order, if you like. So runner-up, Chris and me.
Look, I thought he was adequate. He's obviously holding his form. I'm not sure it's cup-winning form, Craig, but clearly he's in the big 5.
I think he's racing like a V6 with a V4 engine at the moment, fellas. I think he's probably down 20% on what he was maybe 2 years ago. He's going great races. He's putting himself in the right spot. But in both races, he's been in the trail in the right spot to beat the leader, and he hasn't.
Smolder.
Absolutely outstanding. I think he's going better at this stage than he was when he was placed in the New Zealand Cup. And he's a year older. But that was a massive run. He was 3 wide there, and he kept coming to the line, and he held Have Faith in Me on his back, pushed out Have Faith in Me, got onto Smolder's back, and didn't beat him home. So I think the points went to Smolder over Have Faith in Me.
Yeah, therefore disappointed in Have Faith in Me?
Initially, you look at the start and you think, well, hey, he's given them a decent start, but Have Faith in Me got cover, and I thought probably would have rounded off the race a little bit better than he did. Maybe I'm a little bit harsh, but I thought his run was just a pass mark.
And for you?
Yeah, look, the standing start's a huge query, obviously. I think he'll step better in the back straight. That 2,600 metre standing start point's very tricky for horses. Don't like the way his gait's going, but he's an older horse, so maybe he's going to take longer to come to it than Lazarus. You can't keep making excuses, though. He would appear to be, of the 3, the one who's not in the best place at the moment, but still, it's a long way to the Cup. And I do think he's a horse who concentrated racing is very good for him. His biggest wins came in a Miracle Mile after a concentrated program, and an Auckland Cup after a concentrated program. I think he's a horse who's going to improve.
And we know how Franco Nelson's going.
Yeah, just quickly on Lazarus, a couple of interesting stats or maybe useless trivia on him. If he happened to win the New Zealand Cup this year, he would be a 4-year-old, but he was actually born on the 12th of November, 4 days after the Cup. So technically he'd only be 3. Another stupid stat out of it. He and Have Faith in Me were born on the same date, 12th of November, 1 year apart.
There you go.
It's interesting.
All right, those have come out.
Franco Nelson was good. I think, look, it's easy to say he can't win a cup because you always think he can be a little bit of a cat, but he almost won a cup 2 years ago in world record time.
He did, and of course he ran 4th last year on a no preparation.
Yeah, so he's definitely in the big 5.
What I like about him is he worked twice in the race and still kept coming. And, there was one move by Have Faith in Me and one move by Lazarus. He moved twice, Franco Nelson. So I thought on the back of 2 really good wins, he's kept improving.
He's a happy horse. That's a big thing.
The biggest thing to come out of that race was Lockerbie.
Yep.
And for 2 reasons. First of all, he's now gone. Unfortunately, I feel for Kevin Chapman and the family because The New Zealand Cup history is built on these horses, these fairy tale stories, and he's not one of the big barns. He's a Canterbury, Kevin. It was a nice story. And he's an Easter Cup winner, so he was a real chance. Atrial fibrillation, so he goes to a little bit of a break. They could come back for the free-for-all, but he's not in the Cup. He's pulled out. Huge change in dynamic of the race. Had he been in front Lockerbie, had he stepped to the lead in a Cup, he is the only horse who wouldn't have handed up to Lazarus, Smolder, or Have Faith in Me. I can't. Franco Nelson would hand. We would think. Chris and me, we would think. Massini, who we'll see shortly, would think. The rest of them, seriously.
Yep.
The 100 to 1. So all of a sudden, Lockerbie might have parked them out. Now, I don't see a horse in the race who gets in the way of one of the Purdon Rasmussen horses. I mean, you can add Titan Banner to that, who comes to Methven, running to the lead in the middle stages of the race. The dynamic of the race has changed enormously, and a little bit of the romance of the race has changed. It's still a great New Zealand Cup. Lockerbie's not going to change that. But the horse who finished last in this race is a very significant withdrawal.
All right, we need to have a look at the Australian raider, if you like, in Massini. Of course, he was in the Cup last year. I think he finished 5th, and then he finished 3rd in the free-for-all. He's on the back of a Hoka punter here, Michael, and he puts his head down, as we know, and he gets the win, and it was in pretty good time, a 58-mile run.
Yeah, last half in 54.2 seconds. He's coming home for Brent Lilly, who had a huge weekend. We'll talk about that in a second, but look, it's easy to think Massini, really? New Zealand Cup, I mean, really? But he was 5th last year, and a good 5th, and 3rd in the free-for-all, and luckless on that occasion, didn't get much luck. I think he's coming to the right Cup, because outside the big 5, the Purdon 3, Titan Banner we haven't seen yet, Franco Nelson and Chris and me, this Cup falls away pretty quickly. I think it's good to have them here, fellas, because I'm starting to doubt whether we'll get a full Cup field. And of course, Brent Lilly had the option to bring Keystone, his trotter. So spoke to Brent last night. Massini will come and go to the Kaikoura Cup, the Cup and the free-for-all. Keystone will not come. Unless Monbay pulls out of the Dominion and they change their mind, Keystone will not be coming for the trot. He's in the markets, leave him out. And obviously Kai Valley Blue, we saw winning into Alexandra Park. He'll be rocking on down there for the free-for-all and things. So, guys, Massini's a worthy advocate for the race, because it's good to have an Australian there. Anthony Buck comes to drive him, but there's not that much depth after that big 5. I'm thinking, gentlemen, my numbers, 13 in the Cup. That's what I'm seeing at the moment.
Yeah, I agreed. 12 maybe, but yeah, possibly 13. That's, of course, including Brilliant Strike and those types of horses. The start of this race was crucial, Michael, because a Hoka punter, of course, who won the Black Safake and did it in such great style, was the likely leader here. Gets off the machine quickly, but just after the start, he goes a bit rough.
Oh, strange race. We'll discuss this another day. The horse out wide, Stunning Grin. They put in a change of tactics. We're going back at the start. That was officially announced by the stewards, announced on TV. A Hoka punter pids in a rough stride. They go straight across the field and lead. The change of tactics rule is absolutely ridiculous, because you can put in a change of tactics, you can then do something else, which every driver should have the right to do. That's clear. They have to drive their own race. But there's no penalty for changing your change of tactics. There's no repercussions. The change of tactics, well, I've seen it happen in a Miracle Mile. It's just nonsense.
Yep.
Jockeys and drivers need to be able to make their own decisions. If the stewards have a problem with that, then they should question them about it. But asking drivers on horses who are not motorbikes to make these, we're definitely doing this or we're definitely doing that, and that's a prime example, is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you've got to have plan B, C, and sometimes even further down, don't you? So, yeah, I totally agree with that. Brilliant Strike, of course, dropped back in grade, which meant he got a better barrier draw for his race on Friday night at Addington. What unfolded, though, Louis Risk was parked out, and that meant that this guy had to sit out there on his own. He broke 2:21, he went fantastic. Here's Blair Orange getting him home, and afterwards, Paul Court.
He's still kicking. Delightful Dash. He's not going to get him. Big effort. Brilliant Strike won it. Beat Delightful Dash and Qatari Yale.
Well, I know I thought you'd step up, but he really needed to, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a pretty good run out there, and didn't get the best of runs in transit, but he hit the line good, and yeah, really happy.
Look, he was very brave. What's the pathway now? He's still clearly in the reckoning for the New Zealand Cup. What are you planning between now and the second Tuesday, if indeed that's where you are going?
To be honest, I haven't really got any plans. We're just going to play it by ear and let him tell us what to do. But maybe Ashburton. I don't think we'll go to Methven, so But I'll get home tonight and do a bit of homework and go from there.
That was his 9th win from just over 30 starts, but significantly his first win in 13 months.
Yeah, it's been a long time between drinks, hasn't it? But it was a good performance, and he had to be clearly better than them because he was 3 wide for the last 1,000 metres. Gee, wasn't Mark Jones aggressive? Louis Risk, 27 seconds from the 1,200 to the 800 and kept the favourite 3 wide.
Fastest ever at Addington Raceway.
Unbelievable run, but good to see Brilliant Strike win. Now, I'd believe he'd probably go to Ashburton, but it won't be in for the big race. It'll be in for a Class 5 and faster, I think, on the day would maybe where they'd look to target him. He'll add interest to a New Zealand Cup, but he may be better placed in a lower grade
What
race.
do you think, Michael?
Look, I feel for Hanger because the owners are going to want to go, and you've got to respect your owners that they pay the bills. He can't win a New Zealand Cup. I would think. I could be wrong. Look, there's no point going to it. Maybe some
Junior
people
free-for-all would be a good race.
Junior free-for-all's a nice progression through to races like the Franklin Cup and your Muckarat. He could have a lot of fun over the summer. The New Zealand Cup has gutted a lot of horses. He's a pretty rugged horse. I think he'd be fine. But when your owners want to go, admittedly, if there's only 12 or 13, it's hard to stay home. But I don't see him running top 5 in the New Zealand Cup, and I don't see a lot of reason.
Well, he's
to
only
go.
assessed at C6. Maybe he's 12 months away.
Well, exactly.
He's actually, I think he's only a 5 now because he dropped back and then he's back up.
But barring something bad happening, they're holding the race next year as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Fair point. Hey, look, the horse that we haven't spoken about clearly because he didn't go round in the Canterbury Classic was the disappointment out of the New Brighton Cup and Tiger Tara. He went to the trials in Addington on Monday, and here's what he did. Look, he's back there taking its hook and taking off. Was Nui Tok'tien, and it just took off at the 800. Spoke to Jeff Dunn post this trial. That's him running on nicely. He was very pleased with him. Jared O'Reilly came in and said, yep, we're back on track. And that's a good sign because we need the New Zealand free-for-all winner in the New Zealand Cup.
Well, he's a genuine Group 1 horse. He's won 3 Group 1s. He's going to add to the Cup. It's hard to back him at the moment because he's had that little incident go wrong. But this time last year, Arden Rooney was going terribly and turned it round in the last month. So not willing to write him off. But on what I saw in the Auckland Cup and the New Zealand Cup last year, he's probably going to need to improve over 2 miles. But as I said, it's only 5 weeks, but it's actually quite a long time to the Cup. A lot of things can happen between now and then.
It's inside 4. It's 27 days
Is it
today.
really?
It really is, mate. It really is.
God,
so
that seems
he,
close.
he will be going
I need to change my hotel
Ashburton.
booking.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the market as it currently stands. And as we know, the move for Lazarus came Friday night. He's moved again, Craig. He's now 240.
Well, he is, and with Have Faith in Me stepping badly, he's out to 350, and Smolder, I think the big mover. I know he's 550 there, but you could have got a lot longer earlier on. He's 650 at the moment. Chris and me at 950. Lazarus, if he goes around at Ashburton, he wins there. They brought him in 10% on his win here. He'll bring in 10% again on Ashburton, so he's going to go around 220 post the Cup.
What do you make of that market, Michael?
It's too short for mine. I mean, I spent a lot of time last week discussing how I go about futures betting. It's a recipe that's worked for a long time. I think 240 is way too short. In saying that, if Have Faith in Me galloped at Ashburton again and disappeared from the market, that would change. He's still in the market. The bottom line is last week I said 270 was way too short for him in the Cup. He opened $2 last week and paid 270 on the tote. You could have got 270 win last week. So just be careful. I know sometimes you're champing at the bit. Yeah, this is great odds. The tote usually plays better than the book. And the indications are of the horses left in the market, because Lockerbie naturally loses you 10%. All the prices sort of shrunk by 10% when Lockerbie left because he was around a $10 chance. Not many of those horses now will pull out unless something goes wrong. So that's pretty much the bunch you're going to see.
All right, there's the look at the big bangers, obviously off the back of Methven Cup on Sunday and the preview, of course, next week of our Ashburton Flying Stakes will be imperative towards that New Zealand Cup. You found something significant heading towards the end of Dominion, which of course starts 2 weeks after.
Well, yeah, a horse that actually went round as a claimer in January or February of this year has ended up in Australia and going 150, and we're talking about Below a Cloud. This horse was trained by Murray Brown in New Zealand. He actually won 4 races in New Zealand, but early part in his career, I think he could have got him for under $4,000. He's a big bloke by Real Desire. And Michael, he's been doing a good job, but 150, was this a little bit not thought of?
Look, Menangle's a very strange place. A lot of very average horses are going to Menangles and going unusual times.
That was Group 3, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Group 3 in Australia means it's 30,000 plus stake, which is just irrelevant. It's just totally pointless. 30 grand. So, look, I do think that we're going to see a lot more horses go to Menangle and go really wicked times, 51, 52. Does it mean anything? No. But whoever sold the horse, well done to you.
Yep, $101 he is to win the Inter Dominion.
Should be 5,000 to 1.
It still cracks me up that it says he raced here in New Zealand. His last run was at Claudelands, which of course is Cambridge. That amuses me
Just
every
talking
time.
about that Inter Dominion, some of the big names of that racing this week: Hector JJ, Lenny the Shark, Guaranteed. A lot of those horses.
What about
back
Gavin Lang? His decision?
Yeah, Gavin Lang made the decision to get off Hector JJ onto Guaranteed, which will eventually become Ideal for Real. So all the big bangers in there are in play, and at this stage, most of them are heading to the Inter Dominion. So if Mark and Natalie take a couple of theirs, we could actually see a real Inter Dominion rather than the garbage we saw last year.
Yep, we certainly could. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, it'll be the turn of the Square Gators. Welcome back into your box seat, brought to you in association with Sweet Lou, of course, standing at Woodlands. If you're thinking we haven't really acknowledged that we have a new world record holder in Always Be Mickey, we will next week, and we'll talk a lot about North American harness racing. We need to get on to the trotters though, and the feature out of Addington Raceway last Friday night was the Oldhurst Hotel Canterbury Park Trotting Cup, and the mare with the very, very high speed when she gets a run like this was successful once again.
Sunny Ruby unwinds now. Amaretto Sun. Alleyway grabbed her. Sunny Ruby comes at the pair. Alleyway. Sunny Ruby drives and won it. Sunny Ruby cut it fine, but pinpoint accurately. Sunny Ruby nailed Alleyway and Amaretto Sun.
Well, Sam, that was much more like the Sunny Ruby we know.
Yeah, she's real good when she's good, and you know she had a tough run a couple of starts ago, so I backed off her too much, and I've just taken 2 or 3 weeks to get her right. So she's back to her best now.
Inch perfect drive by Gavin Smith, just did everything right, got in the right spot each time.
Yeah, well the tempo was going up front, so that suits her, and she got the drag into it, and she's got a devastating sprint for 200 metres. So.
What's the plan now? Obviously the Ashburton Flying Mile probably on the radar?
Yeah, we haven't really targeted anything. We just race her, just keep racing her, and sort of Dominion's the main aim, so we'll just work our way to there.
It's a good horses race, Michael. You think about the era of Basildine, Tussle, Simon Katz winning all of those types of races through the Cup Carnival and you know, the Lyell Creeks and Taker moments. I don't know if she's in that sort of league, but when she gets that sort of run, she's very good.
We know she's very good at the top level because she's won a Jules beating Mombay. I can't read her. I've got no idea what to expect from Sunny Ruby. That was a beautiful drive by Gavin. Waited, kept her on the bit, kept her happy. The race panned out really nicely for him. But look, can she win a Dominion? Probably, but she's going to need an awful lot to go her way. Craig, I think much like the Pacers about a month ago, everybody was waiting for the Purdon Rasmussen horses to come back, and now we're all waiting for Mombay to come back. I mean, Amaretto Sun was excellent, but it feels like the whole thing's just waiting for Mombay to turn up, and then we'll go, oh, okay, that's where everybody else fits in.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's a tier above the rest, but you have to give credit where credit's due. This mare has improved a lot in the last 2 starts because she was pretty ordinary on the grass, so I give her the benefit of the doubt there, and averaged a start before. But she gets that run. That's what she needs. 3 wide with cover, lethal sprint. 2 miles is a little bit of a question mark, but she's such a speed horse. But if she gets cover, she certainly can do it. I thought the run out of the race was Amaretto Sun. I thought it was enormous. A couple of reasons why was to be on that speed, doing it parked, locking them 3 wide, and still to be there at the finish. For a horse that really is not an open class trotter yet, suggests to me that he's not only going to make the open class ranks, but he's going to be a real big key to winning them as well.
And of course he hadn't had a run since the ordeal. We'll hear from his driver Shree Tomlinson shortly. When I look back at the history of that race, I didn't mention Stig, I Can Do's It, or Master Lavros a couple of times, so it is really a good horses race.
I think the trotters were different in the old days though. They used to come rocking out in August and race through, and they race consistently. Now, because there's so much back-end racing in Australia later in the season, people start later, and then it's really busy in the north through December, January, and then you got to go to the Great Southern Star. So I think the days of those huge pre-Ashburton trotting races are maybe slightly limited.
Were there runners out of that race that you thought looking forward towards the Dominion Handicap were passable?
Well, let's hear from the ones that finished directly behind Sunny Ruby. So here's the beaten drivers.
In terms of build-up for the Dominion, things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, things are going great, and he's not having hard runs, so he's probably now with the 2 runs under is about ready to start copping it. So no, things are shaping good.
Just held up long enough, and with a mare with the speed of Sunny Ruby, it was always going to make it difficult for him because he hasn't really got that change-up speed, has he?
Yeah, well, especially getting held up, like you lose all your momentum and pulling sort of back off the leader and going back at the wrong time. So he's done well to kick through and run second. It was a good run.
Where do we expect to see him next?
Asking the wrong fella. I think Dad was thinking Ashburton.
Well, Cherie, we knew he'd arrive with his ordeal win, but that was an outstanding performance.
Yeah, it was a super effort, and yeah, he went super. Like that first 200 metres, you just have to get him going in clear area, so I couldn't pop in anywhere. So I knew when I got to park that I'd probably just have to stay there, and he was tough enough to fight on till the very end. Yeah,
he seemed to relax pretty well out there, and when you consider he's a new horse in this grade, there's a pretty bright future, isn't there?
Yeah, he did settle very well, and I mean, he only won his maiden race at Banks Peninsula last year, so he did go super, yeah.
All right, what's the plan in the lead up towards the Dominion, which clearly you've qualified to driver now, which gives you a big buzz, I know?
I think now he'll probably go to the mile race at Ashburton, and then we'll see how he comes through tonight, and planning to go the mile and then maybe Kaikoura, so it was.
And Daryl Boko, who finished just in behind them in 4th position, spoke to Blair Orange. He said he's progressing well. Look, the ultimate aim for him is the Dominion. Can he win it? Probably not, but if he sits on the markers, he can get some money. And of course, Cherie's Drive, the stablemate of Amaretto's son, Markula, starts his campaign at Addington
Great
this
to
week.
see him back this week. That'll give a guide how he's come back. We've seen that trial. He's come back pretty well. He's a Sundown Amaretto's son. You'd think, well, 2 miles with him, but his granddam's the mother of Lyell Creek. So he's got a bit of staying ability there, and I like him. She said he hadn't won a race, only won a race, a maiden race 12 months ago. He's come a long way in a very short time.
And so is she as a driver.
Yes, she has. Some of those younger drivers, you're not sure about them, but she drives the trotters very well, and obviously she knows the horses, which is great. So well done to her. It's a big accomplishment qualifying for the Dominion. I do see the grade going up a bit when Markula comes back this week. I mean, obviously he's a very, very good horse. He might be the second best trotter going in the country, with the other big 3 being injured. Habibti's back as well.
Yep.
Be interesting to see how she cops things. She does have some big scalps to her name over a long period of time. So, look, waiting for Mombay. Just your thoughts on Mombay. Hope he is saying he's all right, but when you start getting closer to a race and closer, and it's only $1.90 or $2, and you haven't seen them, makes you a little bit nervous.
Yeah, there's a little bit of nerves there, but he knows the horse very well, and it was only a couple of days and he's back. He's been fast work this week and he's more than pleased with him, so not so nervous about that. A little bit nervous about Kai Valley Blue, Craig, going to Alexandra Park on Friday night, but probably shouldn't have had those nerves because he was simply too good, and so he should have been, Michael.
Funny story, they said to David Butcher, launch him off the gate, and David went to do that, and basically the horse, he said he's like El Sue was when he got to be an older horse. They just know what they're doing. He said he just didn't want to try in the first bit of the race, followed the other horses up, flattened a tyre, didn't gallop at all, but still just way too good. This is a good horse. Heading to the carnival, here's Tracy Cullen, the wife, or partner, sorry, of the trainer.
How did Kai Valley Blue come through the run?
He pulled up really well. David was really happy with him, and he wouldn't have blowed a match out after the race. So, yeah, really happy with him.
Took off at the 600 metre mark, got round 3 wide on the bend, seemed to get round right-handed pretty well, and at the end he was actually pulling away.
Yes, he was. David said he got in a little bit round the bends, but he said once he got going, he said he was a little bit lazy, and then, away he went, and, he won pretty good.
Now, plans with the horse, understand he's looking to travel south early next week?
Yes, he is. He's flying out on Tuesday, and, his main part for, going down would be for the Dominion Handicap. So.
Understand Massini, stablemate, he's looking to come over as well. Tracy, what's his plans? Is he going to race this weekend, and when will he travel over?
Yes, he'll race tomorrow night at Melton, and then he'll fly over probably a week later and fly down south and go from there.
Yeah, and as we know, he was a winner of that race and heading to Kaikoura for their 2-day meeting, so that's a big lift for them, I'm sure. Look, he made it win number 20, Craig. He's not the flashiest trotter. No. He doesn't impress you as a high-speed horse, but he keeps going.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good there, actually. I don't know a lot about the horse. Michael knows a little bit more about him, but I think what he does do is add a lot of interest to a race like Kaikoura. I think the small track round there would suit him. He looks to be actually a horse that's got a bit of speed. I thought he got home pretty well there, and I thought Kaikoura may suit him.
He used to be half a cat. He just wouldn't try. He'd get to sort of like the lead at the 100-metre mark and put his toes in. Bizarrely, at the age of 9, he started trying really hard. His last 2 wins at Melton before that were really good. That was adequate the other day. They're not much, those horses, compared to open class trotters. But Anthony Butt during the Cup Carnival, Brett Lilly knows how to train him. The free-for-all was dangling there with no Mombay. Marcoola's admittedly going to it. But look, he's a horse I doubt can win the Dominion. But he can definitely run a place in the race because Butt's such a good driver of these type of horses. And as I said, he's a worthy addition. It's nice to have some Aussies there, creates some interest, makes them bet more. We get more money.
All right, Keystone Dell is their best, as we know, still Kiwi owned, and here he was winning again, 57.9 mile rate, and he made it number 41. Of course, he's won $1 million.
Oh, it's a big help in life when you've got a stablemate in the race because they had Maori Time in front and it just parked out the other favourite, Glenfrey Typhoon, and that was the end of that. That was always going to happen. He's a great old horse. Look, the horse who won his maiden at Manawa 2, he used to be as crazy as a rat. He's won $1 million. Just a wonderful animal. He'll stick in Australia. He'll just dominate them until Monbay turns up at some stage.
He had to sit
after the new
3 wide there for the last 800 metres.
They're just dreadful horses.
Yeah, Glenfrey Typhoon.
Glenfrey Typhoon's a good horse.
Yep.
But
he's now out of the Dominion?
Well, they parked him. He's no chance he was coming. It's Their trotters have like 1 or 2 horses, or we have 10 good ones. But let's not forget, this horse last year in the Grand Prix beat Speeding Spur and Monbay. Monbay galloped, but he still beat them both. So he's got nothing left to prove. He's now in the emeritus years of his career where he's just going to have some fun and gather a lot of stakes.
All right, we need to have a look at the Dominion market as it stands, and of course we know Mombay is the favourite, and at this stage he's holding that quote of $1.90. Amaretto's Son, for a relatively inexperienced trotter, it's a very short quote, isn't it?
Well,
$7.
it's a big gap between the favourite at $1.90 and the second favourite at $7. And as you say, the things can happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But he is a trotter going forward when we haven't seen a few. Kai Valley Blues moved from 81 to 14. Habibti, boys, understand back at the trials next week. Is that where she's going, Greg?
Well, she trialled last week against Marcoola's. So she was in the Marcoola trial.
Yeah.
And look, she was all right. Gee, it drops away quickly. There's a lot of horses with some concerns. I mean, without being rude, Grego, how can Daryl Boko go from 41 to 16, running 1 place in 3 starts?
Well, he can't possibly, and as I said before, yes, it's his goal, but he has to sit 3-4 the fence to run a place. Therefore, he's not a horse you can use in the run, and I just don't understand.
Interesting horses coming back this week: Kavur, Waterloo Sunset, and Lee River. So Paul Nairn starting to wide some of his
Friday
horses
night
out.
too, and get the latest on.
That'll be good to see those ones there. But Keystone Dell, most importantly, is not coming. Everybody knows the rules.
And Velmain going to a Methven Cup. Yeah. It's a good lead up.
Yeah, well, he was in the noms, but season at Addington as well, so yeah.
Basically, everybody's waiting for Mombay. And we'll see what happens. He might only have the 1 start, so that free-for-all becomes a beautiful race for someone. Marcoola being the obvious candidate.
And as we go to the break, we catch up with a Kiwi doing good things in Australia. His name, Josh Whitaker. Of course, he's already driven a winner here in New Zealand. Josh, last time we caught up with you, you'd driven your first winner at Addington Raceway from memory.
Yeah, at Addington on Party Rage, one of Dad's horses. It was a very special moment for me and the family, so yeah, it was a very good day.
All right, we find you in Sydney, so just talk to us about how that's come about and actually what you're doing here.
Yeah, so I'm over in Sydney at the moment working with Peter Beck, doing an equine dentistry course, so doing the horse's teeth. Yeah, that come about probably when I was a little kid watching Pete's dad, Bill, doing the teeth, and I used to collect them. So I've always been interested, and after leaving school last year, I sort of wanted to get something behind me, so I applied for the dentistry course in Australia and got in, so I was real pleased with that. So now just over here learning the trade, and yeah.
There weren't many got into that course, were there?
They take 2 students a year, so it's pretty hard to get in, so I was stoked with myself, so yeah.
All right, so you've been here how long now?
I've been here 9 months now. The course goes for about 1.5 years, so should be done halfway through next year.
How are you finding working for Peter Beck, because he's got a huge reputation, particularly here in Sydney, with a number of large stables?
Yeah, it's really great working for him, just the amount of knowledge he has, and just how he breaks everything down and telling you how to do it and how to go about the horse and your job and the tools and just everything. It's just so good to have him learning off someone so good.
All right, so you complete the course. What's your plan? Are you thinking come back home and set up yourself?
Yeah, I'll come back home and set up a business, and I'd also like to keep doing a bit of driving and helping Dad out. So yeah, have the best of both worlds really.
Yeah, look, the driving is obviously something you're working on. It's very hard to break into, and even as a junior, the number of opportunities is a lot more than what it was a few years ago. But yeah, I suppose having this as a background, if you like, or what's going to be your main income earner was a pretty smart move.
Yeah, exactly. So I can get my name out both ways really. So do a bit of driving, teeth. So yeah, just another foot in the door really.
Yeah,
get out there.
Rugby league, is that done and dusted for you?
Oh no, I still like to play for the Hullsville Hornets, beat those Panthers.
Oh, well, it's great to catch up with you, mate. Sounds like things are going really well. Looking forward to having you back in New Zealand.
Yep, thank you for that, Greg. Cheers.
Welcome back into your box seat. Of course, the Barron brothers. Individually, they've done a great job in their own training right. Now they've joined forces, and I got an opportunity to catch up and find out how that all came about. Ken, the most significant change, I suppose, to the premiership this season sees the Barron brothers combine. Ken and Tony, how did that come about?
A few months ago now, Greg. Tony was a little disillusioned with Southland Racing, and every time he come up, he just would go and look at properties and everything. And I said to Blair, I said, Tony's up here. He's looking at all these properties all over the province. And I said, I reckon if you look at all the industry in the world today, the big are getting bigger and the small are dropping away. And I said, well, we'd be silly not to see if we can involve them. And so I had a yarn to Tony about it, and him and Cheryl come back in 2 or 3 days and thought it was a good idea. And Blair and Lisa thought it was a good idea, and so it just sort of steamrolled from there. And we thought, well, the property's big enough to take more horses, and there just seems to be strength in numbers, really.
Tony, was it much about the challenge of coming to Canterbury, or had you, I suppose, not worn out your welcome in Southland, but you pretty much achieved everything that you wanted to down there?
Pretty much, and the quality of team we were starting to get round us. We were doing a lot of travelling to Auckland and up to here with, Delightful Dash and Cullen Who and a few others. So, it made it pretty sensible, really.
What strengths, I suppose, do you bring to the partnership, and what's Ken got? Because combined, it would appear to be a pretty powerful unit.
Well, we hope it builds up to that, Greg. But I know we both enjoy doing the young ones, and you've always got to have them coming through. And we also both enjoy selling horses, which is the only way we've survived and got what we have today. So, I'd like to think we'll just continue doing that and continue training winners and keep lifting the quality.
Ken, you already had a large team. What sort of numbers were you sitting at prior to Tony coming into the situation?
Well, we tried to work mid-30s all year round, Greg, but it went up over 40 sometimes in the summer and down to 20, late 20s in the winter. But normally around mid-30s.
Yeah, and what sort of numbers did you bring up, Tony, from your Southland base? And I suppose a number of owners, were they supportive?
They were very supportive, basically over 90%. We only left 2 horses down there. The owners wanted to watch them at the workouts and trials, so we brought 20 up, and there's more arrived since we've come up, but out of that there was 7 of those were my yearlings for the sale, so there was a good 15 to 20 race, unqualified or race horses.
You like that breeding side of things, so therefore I assume that the yearling sale preparation and that will continue?
Yes, definitely, yeah. We've about 7 years now we've been commercial breeding, and similar to the training, we started off very average, but we're building into it, and we're getting some real good quality mares about us now, so I wouldn't want to let that go. I really enjoy bringing the foals through, so yeah.
What about numbers-wise there for Ken? Training, how many are in work now with the addition of Tony?
I think we worked 48 this morning, Greg, so we haven't gone over 50 yet, but there is a chance we may do in the summer months. Really, we don't try and patronise the horses. If they need a spell, they go out, and if it's time for them to come in, they come in. So a lot of horses that have been spelled in the winter, you're probably better off to give them the spring out. So there's still more to come in next month and the following month. And then you've got the better class of 2-year-olds to come back in to race, if they're good enough, February, March, April. So it's really a revolving door, but there's, I've never turned a horse down, and we just do the best with what we see where they're at amongst their team, it's not really trying to keep the boxes full, it's just doing the best thing for each horse.
You obviously started out with your dad, as Tony did training-wise and partnership. John Lishner, a massive influence on your career, but collectively you guys have got similar training records, so it's a pretty powerful combo, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was probably like everyone, Greg. I wanted to be a driver, and when John asked me to come up to Ashburton, he was very frustrated about trying to get a consistent driver, and he asked me if I'd do it, and of course the rest was history. We just kept climbing up to a couple of premierships, and then I told everyone when I won 1,000 races I'd stop driving, which you could almost say I have, but I haven't. So you can train longer than you can drive, and I guess it was another challenge for me. I thought I'd made it to some extent as a driver, and then I thought, well, if I put my effort into training, and then of course Blair come along, and it's pretty heartening to see how he's going. I mean, he's always a very good driver, but he probably gets more accolades now not being with Mark's team than he did beforehand. So he's a big part of the operation as well, and hopefully, as Tony said, if we're going to have no problem with the two of us, and Blair, the three of us get on really well, and Blair's driving lights out, and we just need probably, get into that age group, sort of Group 1 racing is what we lack. We've got a lot of nice horses, but no real flagship horses.
Tony, you started out with your dad partnership-wise. What elements of his training have you brought to, not only as an individual, but now what you're doing with Ken?
Patience, I think, yeah. And that was part of the Purdon operation too that we spent a few years at. Patience and just bring them along quietly.
You've got similar goals to Ken. Are you goal-setting guys? You don't come across as we're going to do this season, but the group races clearly stand out. That's where you need to be.
Yeah, so it's one thing I haven't achieved that I'd like to as a Group 1 winner. So I'd like to do that before I die.
What about stock-wise then? A few young ones clearly in the barn. Are they developing like the types of horses you're going to need?
Yeah, well, we've been fairly lucky. Ken had, there was probably close to 22-year-olds in when we arrived, and we've had another few arrive, and they're really shaping up good, and there's a few of his that were pretty smart, were turned out beforehand. So, we'd like to think you wouldn't say you could beat Mark, but you'd like to be competing with him anyway.
We need to have that in Canterbury and New Zealand, don't we, Ken? Because the benchmark's set so high by the All-Stars team.
Yeah, well, it probably started in February, Greg, when we actually outbid him on a horse, which is rather surprising. And whether he's the one we want or not, you don't know. But there was definitely more activity at the sales, looking for those higher class lots, and stronger younger types. So you got to get the horses. It's very hard to make something that isn't good enough into it. So if you can just improve your quality, and I guess you need a bit of luck as well. But we've gone all right at the young guns and that, but we've never had that horse that you want. And is he here or not? We don't know yet. But and you're still looking. I mean, every year is a new page and a new chapter. So those horses are going to be in someone's barn, and you just like to think one day it can be you.
Tony, you would have clearly not have gone about this the way you have if you didn't think the future was pretty bright.
Oh, exactly, yeah. I've said for a long time to people that between Auckland and Canterbury, with their investments outside racing, I can see them, lifetime earnings basically, whereas a lot of clubs out there are battling, a lot of people out there are battling, and if you've got earnings outside the industry, you know, you're ticking away pretty good, really.
You're pretty keen on the future too, King?
Yeah, what's going to help ultimately, Greg's the lack of numbers, because everyone wants nice horses, and you know, that with less foals getting bred, there's going to be less product basically, and you know, the lack of sheep's going to prove a lack of wool, and if the dairying drops, there's going to be lack of milk, and so, you know, I think the quality's improving, but the numbers are down, and there always seems to be people out there wanting the good horses, and you know, so there's definitely optimism, as Tony said, that Addington and Auckland are really going well as far as prize money, and it's sustainable. Like, it's not just a flash in the pan. They both clubs appear to be managing it so that it's going to the future rather than just, you know, in the next 2 or 3 years. So that's what we need. We need some forward thinking and some, you know, basically progression through this generation and beyond, really.
We're in the home straight in your box seat. First of all, make an apology. Last week, Sam Payne, yes, he got his first win with Happy Heidi. I got all wrapped up in the excitement of that and called his mother the wrong name. So to Rachel, my apologies there. Sam will never take away from the fact that you got your first winner there. All right, we need to get into the NRM Sires Stakes. The next heat, of course, at Forbury Park. The All-Stars went on a raid, Michael Guerin, and they got the money with the reigning 2-year-old of the year.
Did it win like a $1.20 chance expected to win? Probably because Ultimate Machete, who's the horse wider on the track of the Purden Rasmussen 2, got closer. Craig, clearly, he's the top gun amongst the 2-year-olds from last season, now a 3-year-old, but it would appear from that Ultimate Machete is closing the gap.
Oh, he closed the gap a little bit. I think probably the winner had a little bit more left at the end of the race, and he'd only had one run leading into that effort, so he's probably going to improve. They ran over 26 around Forbury Park, which is pretty quick, so good effort the first two, and they'll progress into the final.
Yep, here was the start. Where he was drawn was always going to be how the race unfolded. Spondulix, that was, who galloped out of the gate. He goes to a maiden the last race where there's 5 of the All-Stars in.
Yeah, and they allowed Mongolian Storm to go from 3 into the trail and gave him a nice run. But we'll see a few more of these Purden Rasmussen runners go around shortly, Greg, and they'll target obviously the final, and more the better at this stage is the head of the pack. You've got to have faith, of course. When I say they'll go round again, there's the one I'm talking about. Will go round Friday night.
Friday night, takes on Mickey Flynn, who could not have been more impressive.
No. Well, there was a bizarre situation the other day with the standing start, with the mobile start. Mickey Flynn got forced to go to the outside, which apparently is within the rules, but a lot of people didn't know that. Story for another day. Interesting with these horses, you look at these Purden Rasmussen 3-year-olds, you think they're going to clean up, but gee, the hype around Star Galleria is building in the north. Good in its heat win at Cambridge. Races this week in another heat, which is a good rule. You change, you can contest 2 heats now, and very impressive at the workouts on Saturday.
And of course, you do draw the outside, though, the worst barrier,
draw,
which I think is a great idea.
Ridiculous situation, you can only line it once. We've got that situation now.
Well, I can tell you, with more the better, he'll go to the final heat more than likely now and draw the outside of the front row. Mark was happy with that.
Absolutely, he's got to give him another lead and run, that's great. But yeah, the heat this week's very, very open, boys, and we'll talk a lot more about Friday night, but you've got nice types in there, Jack's Legend, Naylor, Vasari return out to run at the workouts on the weekend, comes up with a really good barrier draw. So yeah, interesting to see what happens on Friday.
All right, let's have a look at the NRM Sires Stakes market, of course, now with more the better. In it, 250, Ultimate Machete, yes, very good. 450, you've got to have faith, goes around Addington. Star Galleria is $11. There's still a bit of an anomaly here, though, Craig.
Well, yeah, there's horses that are going around this week, like Raptor's Flight, that are nominated, that are not in the market, which is a little bit unusual, but apparently you can actually get them quoted. Right. So for horses in the nominations for the heat, you can ask for them to be.
What did you make of Tiger Thompson at Addington Friday night?
Well, I thought he was a winner in that race, and he's a really nice horse that will have to take the next step up. But boy, he's been good. What I liked about him, Greg, he got off the gate real good.
Gate speed, very much so.
Yeah.
And
51 and 18.
It's the sort of horse that a guy like Brad Mowbray needs.
Interesting comment this week. We asked last week on the show when we were talking about the rating system in the north and how it's changed things and does it work, and everybody has their own opinions. Spoke to Ross Painter, Cambridge trainer this week, made a point I hadn't thought about. With the rating system in the north but no rating system in the South Island, the 2 and 3 year olds there have an easier path to winning money than the 2 and 3 year olds in the North Island because they get bumped into better races. How does it affect the jewels? If you have a 3-year-old who's any good at, like Star Galleria in the North Island, who couldn't contest a maiden, went on to contest a effectively one-win race when it first came back, whereas had he been in the South Island, he'd be in a maiden race, no doubts. So does it make it easier for the southern horses to get more stake money and qualify for the jewels, if, in fact, this rating system stays? Because at the moment, we have 2 different handicapping systems in a small country.
Yeah, it's on trial, and I totally understand that. But if that does eventuate, Michael, you know, those trainers in the north would have every right to blow
Absolutely.
up.
It's going to affect more the 3-year-olds than the 2-year-olds because the 2-year-old trotters, we never get a full field anyway, and the 2-year-old pacers, they stick to their own grade anyway. They really line up until later in the season where they race against the older horses. So it's only the 3-year-olds that is affecting.
All right, coming up on track this week, we have got plenty for you. Harness racing wise, domestically, Manawa 2 second of their 2 days. Of course, they raced on Tuesday, $25,000 pick 6. They're very good night, Alexandra Park. The Kerry Hoggard Memorial, the Holmes DG, their feature, they're at $20,000, although the Sires Stakes is worth a couple of thousand more, $40,000 pick 6. 9 races at Addington, pretty good program given that it's Methven Cup day on Sunday. They've got 11 races, 12:20, and a Gore will be on as well at 12:07.
Yeah, of course, at Methven, of course, a Bibty will go around at Methven in the Mares race there, and Valmain will go around in the Methven Cup. So, of course, Brown Pub Punter of the Year, $5,000 for the winner of that this year, and they've got 11 races, so good fields, Greg.
Yep, they certainly are. Let's have a look at the Holmes DG. Great to be acknowledging, of course, Kerry Hoggard and his contribution to harness racing with this very good race. And, of course, Huey Green, who won the Spring Cup, goes around again off the 10 metres with no Dr. Need.
Yeah, those 2 off the 10, and no Dr. Needed, the only horse from the north going to the New Zealand Cup. Look, they're better than the horses off the front line, but the horses on the front line had made enough improvement that maybe there could be a bit of a contest here. The start's going to be absolutely crucial. That's what won Huey Green the race last time. Here's the race 2 weeks ago, Spring Cup. Huey Green led, trailed, came up the passing lane. Was pretty good. Lost a little bit of momentum here, but there was enough about this, Craig, even from, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Faithful and those type of horses, to suggest that Huey and or no Dr. Needed probably can't afford any bad luck on them.
No, they're 10 metres behind the others, and of course you chuck in the combination of 4 Barry Purdon runners in a 9-horse field here. I expect there to be a little bit more movement in this race than maybe last week. No Start Dreaming there this week, boys, but it's a good field. I think no Dr. Needed, if he's going to progress to a New Zealand Cup, would have to run 1-2 in this race.
I think the problem for him is it's a poor lead-up for a New Zealand Cup. I mean,
2700's probably better.
But Lazarus is going such good times down home, and then all of a sudden you've got a horse up here who's racing inferior horses. When he gets to an Ashburton, a Kaikoura or an Addington, he's going to need to improve about 10 lengths on the horses he's been racing, so bloody hard to be going from a North Island preparation to a South Island Cup.
I think in terms of the New Zealand Cup, the significance of this week's Methven Cup is borne out by the field that we have. Titan Banner returns to the racetrack. Smoulder's there, but he's gone well in this race before. Mighty Flying Mac was pretty good in the Canterbury Classic, I thought, and I suppose Seal the Deal, this might be D-Day in terms of whether he goes forward to it.
Look, it's going to be interesting to see how the market lines up here, because Smoulder is so good, and let's not forget, Titan Banner did some really good things at the back end of last season, but Smoulder won the Hunter Cup.
And $750,000.
And finished 3rd in the Auckland Cup and 2nd in the New Zealand Cup. So you can make a case he's in the top 3 horses in the country. Does he start favourite here? Is the height round Titan Banner going to put him in play? Other horse who the big question marks over, Mostale Connor. Is he a horse who benefited by a poor crop last season, or are we going to see him maybe bounce back? Craig, I know you're a huge fan of the grass track betting. Should be a fun day to be there. But the one thing I would say about grass tracks, don't be taking the short odds on the fixed, because the totes do tend to play very wide.
What we know about Smoulder is he doesn't mind the grass. He was placed in this race a couple of years ago. He'll start favourite. I have no doubts he'll start favourite on his run last week where he ran 3rd. You've got no Chris Amin, you've got no Lazarus there this week, so I think he'll start favourite. It's just whether Titan Banner is ready enough to push him. I reckon it's going to be a great lead-up race.
Which way would you go?
Of course, I'll be looking towards Smoulder. I think he's probably got the race day fitness over Titan Banner, and that may be the difference between the two. But of course, Mostale Connor's got the grass track form, so yeah, it all adds to the mix.
Yep, certainly does. It should be a magnificent day out there. 11 races, big full fields, and there's guaranteed to be some big dividends, and therefore you should definitely, if you head out there, have a look at that Brown Pub Punter of the Year, and of course the $5,000 that they have on offer. What about our best bets of the week? Craig, you got the business done last week?
Going for a runner at Gore on Sunday called Ariadna Lavra. This one's trained by Mark Jones, and won a race as a 2-year-old Greg. Showed a lot of ability early. He's come back at 3, and I thought it's a nice race to debut on.
Yep, very big chance for sure. Michael?
My one galloped 3 times last week, so this one must go better, I'm pretty sure. Good performance from American Empress, had been good at the trials, good fresh up, better last week, falls into exactly the right race. Second line barrier draw doesn't concern me at all, it's just going to boost your divvy.
Well, I tried to get Alleyway home, but wasn't quite capable of doing that.
Your fault.
Yeah, it was my fault.
Your fault.
Cracker Red galloped late in the piece last week. I reckon from barrier 2 with Sheree Tomlinson, very, very big chance. And
Matty Cross was in the building today. Matty Cross is out doing some stuff for Standardbred. I believe he's visiting Woodlands. He's gone for Mark Cooler in the feature trot on Friday night.
Can't wait to see him back at the races. We asked to get some foal shots come in, and we'll get to those in a moment, as we did ask for some viewer feedback as well. And
is anybody here related to Graham Law? Because this is a very nice email for us. I'm wondering if maybe someone's related to him.
No, but what I can...
thanks, Graham. That's nice. That's nice,
very good, Graham. What I can tell you, Donegal Bettigreech was at the trials on Monday, so she's pretty close to getting back to the racetrack on race day.
And
so,
living example of the fact we should have more mares trotting races. There's one at Methven this week. It's great. We should have one every month in this country. No one's ever explained to me why we don't.
All right, I was slightly premature in getting to the foals before, but now we can. Let's have a look at what we've been sent in. And here's old Del Boy.
Old Del Trotter.
Yep.
Do you know that that's Speeding Spur's stable name? Del Boy.
Really?
There you go.
Nice work. Michael, you learn something every week.
There's the great man, Charles Roberts. There he is with Adore Me's first foal. She named Renee, I think.
Yep. Stable name already. And
there's Dad.
There's Dad having a look. Yeah.
Can you say Sweet Lou? Look in the air. Sweet Lou! That's him with the blaze.
Lovely looking foal, and great to get that in.
Typical girl. They just love their photographs being taken. She'll have her own Instagram account soon.
Yeah, and we've got another one to have a look at as
Out of Splendid Dreams too.
Yep, Out of Splendid Dreams. So yeah, we're talking about the same family here. This one by Better's Delight.
This is the Chris and me, Hans Christian family.
Yeah, that mum is basically a one equine economy. She's just made so much money go round and round old Splendid Dreams. So, hey, if you've got some more photographs of your foals out there, you're a proud parent, send them in, because it's a cool time of year to see, particularly Adore Me. Adore Me looks fantastic.
All right, what one race are you looking forward to the most this week, Craig?
The Methven Cup. I think this will give us a guide to where Titan Banner is heading towards the New Zealand Cup. I know he's on the 4th line of betting, but he's one horse that does step away, and we'll just see how fit he is on Sunday.
Yep, for sure. And
looking forward to the Sires Stakes here at Alexandra Park. Is Star Galleria the real deal? The trial last Saturday would suggest maybe he is. So we'll find out more on Friday night.
All right, that's been your box seat. Hopefully you've got the information you were looking for out of the show, and we'll be back next week to take you through what's happened and what's ahead as well. Enjoy your harness racing week ahead.